It's important to understand what the 5G is doing and what they say it's doing. We're told on the IEEE beamforming document that this technology cooked your eyes like eggs in World War II. Cooked your eyes like eggs. And you all need to understand these are military weapons. These are assault frequencies. If you garner nothing more than that, that's what you need to know. It's microwave radiation warfare is what this is.
This interview is being brought to you by our friends at Virtual Shield VPN. Protect your information, location, and search history from the prying eyes of Big Brother and big data internet providers without slowing your internet speed. And definitely check out IdentiSafe, a great Virtual Shield feature that includes a microphone and webcam blocker that also automatically deletes browser data, cookies, and can even shred files so that they're unrecoverable. Use the link below to take an extra 30% off your first term. So visit virtualshield.com by using the link below and give yourself the gift of internet security. All right, folks, thanks so much for tuning in. Welcome back. This is part 2 of my conversation with Deborah Tavares from stopthecrime.net. And guys, the way that part 1 ended was basically with me thinking of the document, Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars. And this is part 2, all about 5G networks and frequency warfare. As you guys know, Deborah has so much to say, and we only have a finite amount of time. I'll turn this over to Deborah now. Take us away, Deborah. 5G networks, it is an insidious plan. And the FCC is foaming at the mouth to get this thing launched.
Well, we're going to talk about that because it is diabolical, and everyone that is listening, you must engage while your minds are still able to, because we're literally at a point where we will not be able to engage, we will not have control over our bodies or our minds. This is cyborg reality now within our cities. We're going to talk about the 5G, but I'm just going to read this. The emergence of a planet-wide electronic communications grid connecting the thoughts and feelings of billions of people and linking them to rapidly expanding volumes of data, to fast-growing webs of sensors being embedded by millions throughout the world, and to increasingly intelligent devices, robots, and thinking machines, the smartest of which already exceed the capability of all of us in performing a growing list of discrete mental tasks, and now already surpass humans in manifestations of intelligence that we as humans had always assumed would remain the unique province of our species. Sadly, that is no longer the case. So we're going to get into the 5G. It is nothing short of diabolical. We're going to first recommend that all of you go to the top of stopthecrime.net, the home page, and what you will find is the opportunity to download the symptom list for frequencies. And again, go to the top of stopthecrime.net. Everyone needs to understand what is occurring. So, the only thing that we can do right now is to disengage from all wireless as soon as possible. Now, it's important to understand what the 5G is doing and what they say it's doing. We're told on the IEEE beamforming document that this technology cooked your eyes like eggs in World War II. Cooked your eyes like eggs. So we need to understand where we are with this and what is happening with the 5G. So we're going to go into what the success of 5G is going to require. On the IEEE, that's IEEE, that means Institute for Electric and Electronic Engineers, you can read a document entitled Everything You Need to Know About 5G. And you all need to understand these are military weapons. These are assault frequencies. If you garner nothing more than that, that's what you need to know. But here's what they're telling us they're and why they're implementing faster data speeds. Because they're telling us that today's mobile users want faster data speeds and more reliable service. And they say the next generation of wireless networks, 5G, promises to deliver just that and so much more. The 5G users should be able to download a high-definition film in under a second, a task that took 10 minutes on the 4G. The wireless engineers say that networks will boost the development of other new technologies such as autonomous vehicles and the Internet of Things. We are being eliminated. That is the most important takeaway this conversation is about. But they say that, and what I find extremely interesting, and again, you can look at this on stopthecrime.net, in our bills that we get with Pacific Gas and Electric for our electric bills, almost on a monthly basis, there's a bill insert. And, of course, Pacific Gas and Electric and your utilities are all run by Rothschild. And they have an explanation about EMF frequencies and whether it causes health problems or not. And there's a very interesting paragraph in their insert. They tell us that international, national, and California laws, because these are inserts in our bills, are unable to define whether the frequencies are safe or not safe. And this remains the circumstances of the findings to date. So they're telling us it is still uncertain. They use the word uncertainty. You can download this again at the top of stopthecrime.net. You're likely getting these in your bills. People do not read the inserts. We know that the evil doers are required, it's a code of ethics, that they must let us know what they're doing in advance. So what else is happening now? We've just found out recently that the World Health Organization has identified 5G as an addiction. Video gaming is now an addiction and a mental disorder, of which drugs are now going to be implemented, and this is going to be classified in the International Classification of Diseases, which is a publication that's due out this year. It's updated every so many years, and it will include gaming disorder as a serious health condition. And yet they're telling us that the 5G is necessary so we can connect to the Internet of Things. But yet, it is addiction. But worse than that, this is elimination of people. Now, I'd like all of you to type in Palantir and the Orb, O-R-B. You're going to see a very, very diabolical photograph of Donald Trump in Saudi Arabia, putting his hands on the crystal ball, which represents Palantir, or thought crime prediction. And we need to understand it would not have mattered who got in the White House. It does not matter. We're a corporate structure. We don't have the elected officials that we think we have. And as soon and as quickly as we can discard that propaganda out of our minds, the better off we will be in understanding how we need to protect ourselves. Now, I will tell you, I spoke with Dr. Bill Deagle yesterday, and I was on his show, and he is talking about the creation of a device that will help to reduce the frequencies that we're going to be hit with. We are going to be slaughtered, and many people now are creating devices. So, Sean, when we talk about solutions, we have the capability and the know-how to have certain protections available to us. Many people also have found that crystals used properly can deflect frequencies. We recently learned that the crystals used in the radios in World War II was one of the main advantages that the United States had. And this was the quartz in the radios. So crystals are extremely powerful, and many people are now going to be implementing crystals around their properties and in their homes to deflect some of these frequencies that are now escalating. So let's read a little more about 5G and what some of the problems with 5G is and why the Wildlands Project is being implemented to drive us out of the rural lands. And that is because 5G will not work in the country. It must and will be implemented into the density in the cities. It is a dense network of frequencies. And here's what we know about that. They go on to tell us that there's one problem that the 5G runs into. They tell us that many people are using devices and they're consuming more data than ever before, but their data remains crammed on the same bands of radio frequency spectrum for mobile providers that have always been used in the past. And this means less bandwidth for everyone, causing slower service and more dropped connections. This is how they're selling this to us. But they go, the need to really literally deploy hundreds and hundreds of these in our cities. In fact, they tell us that these small, mobile, portable, miniature base stations, or 5G, will be deployed every 820 feet apart throughout our cities. There will be thousands, millions of these throughout our cities. They say to prevent our cell signals from being dropped, the carriers will install millions of these, and they will form a dense network that act like a relay team, receiving signals from other base stations and sending data to users at any location. They go on to tell us that this radically different network structure will provide a more targeted and efficient use of the broadband spectrum. Having more stations means the frequencies that one station uses to connect with devices in one area can be reused by another station serve in another area. But there is a problem. The sheer number of small cells require to build a 5G network, and it will be hard to set up in rural areas. And here's what they're telling us the difficulty in the country areas are. Vegetation prevents the signals from being able to travel, and also rain prevents the signals from traveling. Hence, the weather control and the droughts. That will not prohibit the signals from traveling. Again, they want us out of the country. All of these signals penetrate all structures and all living things. This is what is intended with 5G. And in fact, Sean, we're having meetings here in Santa Rosa because they're rolling them out here now in Northern California, and they're saying that they're going to start rolling these out in Sacramento in California. But these are headed to you too. So what we're finding is that these micro cell towers that are putting unimaginable watts and frequencies into the environment, it's microwave radiation warfare is what this is. And they're putting them on our sidewalks. They can't underground the 5G network. And this is, of course, without any public input or knowledge, just like the Palantir or the Thought Police implementation in New Orleans. Not even the city council, who doesn't represent us anyway, but not even the city council was aware of the implementation of the CIA-backed predictive policing in New Orleans.
Yeah, and you know what? I have to just jump in. I've been quiet this whole time because you really stunned me with that picture of Trump with the magic orb in Saudi Arabia. And these are just a couple of recent headlines here from the Daily Mail 5 days ago. Secretive startup uses predictive policing in New Orleans. And Palantir, the company that knows too much, from New York Daily News just 2 days ago. Guys, this is just as serious this as a heart attack, it seems to me that they've privatized their eugenics programs. That's what's going on here, Deborah.
That's exactly what's going on. Now we're going to jump into something else because we literally got this Palantir information from a source that has now sent it out. We've been putting it across on as many outlets as possible. I would highly recommend everyone go to stopthecrime.net, download these documents for yourself, see for yourself what your cities are leading you into. It's not a matter of, sadly, of stopping this. This is a rollout of genocide. Now, we're going to be really trying to create public awareness. This is why we're talking about it right now. But I want to jump in to one more thing that's diabolical, and everyone needs to understand what has also happened to our food supply. We know it's been poisoned. We know the water's been poisoned. We know the air has been poisoned. But we need to talk about Cinemix. And Cinemix is spelled Senomyx. Senomyx. And all of you listening can go to stopthecrime.net, type that in our search bar, and you will find this information. It's very startling. You're going to see photographs that are going to be very, very disturbing. But more importantly, you're not going to want to eat this, okay? So we're going to talk about what this is. There's a list of companies that are using human fetal cells from aborted babies as a flavor enhancement in our food supply.
Pepsi was busted for doing that. Pepsi was using that as a flavor enhancer in their cola.
Yeah, PepsiCo is certainly one of them, but the list is very long, and it's important for everybody to download the flyer that we have on stopthecrime.net so you don't consume this aborted fetal tissue. What does it do? Well, it incites anger, and it literally rewires our brain as we cannibalize ourselves. The same thing, of course, which happened with mad cow disease when they were grinding up roadkill and other cattle and feeding it to the cattle. We're being fed our own species, and we must know the products that are certainly implementing this. So I'm going to just read some of this to you now. But again, I caution you when you type in the list of companies using fetal cells from aborted babies, which you can do. Again, the list of companies using fetal cells from aborted babies. You're going to see a very disturbing photograph. But Cinemix is listed on its website, and its partners decided to ignore the letter from the Right to Life group that was certainly organizing against the use of humans in the food supply. And sadly, the Right for Life group lost their bid to stop this during the Obama administration. Now remember, it doesn't matter who's president. Anyone could have been president at that time. We're a corporate structure. We're run by the corporation, and certainly PepsiCo is a massive corporation. So during the Obama administration, and sadly, on February 28th of 2012, the President's Security and Exchange Commission ruled that PepsiCo's use of aborted fetal human tissue remains in their research and development agreement with Cinemix to produce flavor enhancements, falls under ordinary business operations. So we're going to talk about a list of products. You should not be consuming these products. All soft drinks and Pepsi, all drinks Sierra Mist, all drinks Mountain Dew, all in-beer mug root beer and Pepsi, drinks of No Fear, Ocean Spray, Seattle's Best Coffee, all brands of energy drinks, all brands, Aquafina water, Double Shot, some of the Frappuccinos, Gatorade, they go on, Tropicana, all products of Nestle, including coffee creamers, instant soups, bouillon cubes, ketchup, sauces, instant noodles, etc. Bubble gum, Chiclets, Clarets, Dentyne, Trident. There's many other lists of gums as well. You need to look at this for yourselves. They talk about Cadbury Adams candies, and they mention the original gummies and many other Cadbury candies as well. Certs and Halls cough drops. The company produces, there are also companies that produce anti-wrinkle creams containing the cells of aborted babies as well, of 14 weeks gestation. And there's a list of the creams that we need to understand have the aborted fetal tissue in it as well. So I can only say, Sean, we do not have a government. We are being literally fried, cooked by these frequencies. It's like being in a microwave oven. We need to understand how they're going to do away with mass populations in the United States through resilient cities. And the words infrastructure changes after weather weapon assaults. This is what they're doing. Again, they're deploying cameras all over. They plan them in all the states with infrared, as I said earlier, to track and monitor our movements in real time, 24/7, 365. And I liken this to a deadly video game gone live. I remember the Situation Room that Hillary Clinton and others sat in as they watched the horrific murders that were occurring at that time at the embassy. This is what is happening now. There's a movie called Paintball that I would recommend people take a look at. This is what is happening. We're being wired up, we're being predictively programmed, and we are being slaughtered. So the good news is, I suppose, is you now know you should be detaching yourself from wireless as best possible. Wrap your wireless up in Mylar until you cannot receive a signal. Stay away from your computer LED lights as long as possible. In fact, all your computer screens have LED lights. LED lights are absolutely causing blindness on the way from macular degeneration to other eye diseases, nearsightedness. We're losing our eyesight as a result of the silent weapon systems of our lighting as well. In fact, recently we went to an ophthalmologist and pulled some flyers from the office, and everyone needs to be doing this. You need to understand how technology is being used and the sinister side and how we need to protect our vision. And there's, of course, saying that the vision loss is representing itself as tired eyes, sensitivity to light, loss of sharp contrast of vision, difficulty seeing at night, discomforting glare, fatigue, difficulty staying focused, difficulty falling or staying asleep, headaches, increase in migraines, behavioral issues in children, risk of early onset cataracts, risk of macular degeneration, increased risk of diabetes, increased risk of obesity. This is just from the lighting alone. And the Department of Energy has approved this silent weapons system of lighting throughout our country under the guise of reducing our greenhouse gas emissions. This is a worldwide assault of lighting. It's not just in the United States with the change out now of all of our street lights to LED. We have a YouTube up. It's called LED Lights, a Silent Weapons Assault. We would certainly ask that all of you send this out far and wide, make comments under the video, adding more things that you learn about the assaults of the lighting alone. So by knowing these things, you can make different choices as best you can. We recently had a health forum with a group of people where we are talking about the different things we can do. There's many things that we can do. We have to first also become aware of the poisons in our cooking ware. Much of our cookware in the United States is prohibited from other countries. Did you know that? I didn't know that, but it's true. They use lead and cadmium in glassware that we use to heat things in, and they use coatings on pans that gets into our food. They use metals that get into our foods, and one of the things I didn't know was cast iron is one of the worst. So we're going to have solution information on stopthecrime.net about the kind of cookware that you should get, what you should not be cooking your food in. Even if you're spending more money for what you think is organic, there is sadly, as many of you can appreciate, no such thing as organic, not with the poisons and the level of toxicities in our water. And I want to leave you with probably the best news of all, and that is that we have primary water. We are not running out of water. We have access to pure, fresh drinking water. We need to understand that water is a renewable. Please go to primarywater.org. Take a look at the wonders of water. Don't be deceived. We also, at the very top of stopthecrime.net, have a discussion on the creation of fossil fuels. Our petroleum never did come from dead animals or plant material. And we have the genocide treaty, which I talk about, also at the very top under the banner of stopthecrime.net on the home page, and then flanked by the truth about water. So there are very important things that we need to know. Our children are being hit with frequencies. Never before have we had increased levels of depression and suicide in our children, and it's because of the onslaught of the cell phones. Listen to the cooking of humanity. And Sean, I really want to thank you for having me on today. I hope that people that hear this will go to stopthecrime.net. Please subscribe and watch our YouTubes, and just stay in contact with other like-minded people, because we are heading in to a reality that most people don't realize is occurring.
Yep, absolutely. Well, you know how much we appreciate your time. And before we part ways, let me just say this. Guys, you know that Google wants to control all of the world's information. And it was Alphabet CEO, former CEO Eric Schmidt, who said, we should just be able to give you one answer, the right answer every time. So this is Big Brother. This is Orwell's wet dream. And so as it relates to Cinemix, let me just...
Yeah.
Yep. Let me just say this, guys. I'm going to read an article here for you from 2012, just part of an article here, because if you Google that, if you Google Cinemix now, you're getting the first return is a Snopes debunking the whole thing. Here's the fact. Confused about the Pepsi fetal cell issues? Here are the facts. This is from lifesitenews.com. So, bottom line, they say, now remember this is 2012, but very revealing in this article is paragraph 2. Bottom line, there are no aborted embryonic or fetal cells in any of PepsiCo's final products, but aborted cells are used in the development of artificial flavor enhancers by biotech company Cinemix, with which Pepsi signed a 4-year, $30 million agreement in 2010 for research and development. No Pepsi products containing Cinemix flavor enhancers should be expected until 2013. Folks, it's time to wake up. Cinemix's disputed cell line is HEK293, derived from the kidney cells of an aborted baby. This is a horror show. You just can't make this stuff up, folks. And if you're going to trust Google and you're going to trust Snopes, they're going to hide the truth from you. So you have to turn to the alternative news media for hardcore truth, like you've heard on this broadcast with my guest, Deborah Tavares. Deborah, thank you so much for what you do.
Thank you.
All right. Guys, visit stopthecrime.net. Download all the materials. Share this stuff with your friends and family. I'm not sure if we can turn this ship around, but we sure as hell need to try. Because if we don't, the alternative is depopulation. All right, Deborah. God bless.
Thank you. Everyone, again, go to stopthecrime.net. Be well, everybody.
All right. And guys, thank you so much for tuning in for Real News 24/7. Visit us at sgtreport.com. Bye-bye.
The evil of this, I mean, the satanic nature of the pedophilia that's going on, and the combination of the Satanism with the pedophilia is going to be shocking to the average American.